You have been lied to about the nature of money. Society, with its moralistic platitudes and comforting fables, tries to convince you that money is merely a medium of exchange, a tool for consumption, or even the root of all evil. They teach you to view it as a ticket to pleasure, a way to buy comfort, or a status symbol to impress people you do not respect. But this is a civilian's view of the world. It is the perspective of the sheep, not the shepherd. If you look through the lens of power, through the cold, unblinking eyes of Niccolo Machiavelli, you will see the truth that the polite world tries to hide. Money is not a currency. Money is a weapon. In the brutal architecture of human hierarchy, money is the only distance between you and the will of others. It is the wall that separates your sovereignty from their coercion. Without it, you are not a citizen. You are a subject. You are subject to the whims of a boss, the fluctuations of the market, the tyranny of debt, and the mercy of those who hold the keys to your survival. Machiavelli warned us 5 centuries ago that a prince who relies on the arms of others is never truly safe. He who cannot defend himself is destined to be conquered. In the modern era, your sword and your shield are not made of steel. They are made of capital. Most people walk through life defenseless, completely naked in a battlefield they refuse to acknowledge. They believe that if they follow the rules, if they are good people, the world will treat them with fairness. This is a fatal hallucination. The world is not fair. It is indifferent. It respects force, and it exploits weakness. When you are financially vulnerable, you have no leverage. You cannot say no. You cannot walk away. You cannot protect those you love from the grinding machinery of the system. You are forced to smile at insults, to tolerate disrespect, and to trade your limited time on this earth for the bare minimum required to keep breathing. That is not life. That is a slow, polite suffocation. To understand money as a weapon, you must first kill the consumer inside you. The system is designed to keep you weak by keeping you hungry for things you do not need. They invent voids in your soul and try to fill them with products. They sell you the illusion of status so that you surrender your real power. Every dollar you spend on a meaningless luxury to impress a stranger is a bullet you have removed from your own magazine. The true strategist does not seek to look rich. He seeks to be untouchable. He understands that every coin he accumulates is a soldier in his army, a brick in his fortress, a codified unit of freedom. Machiavelli observed that men forget the death of their father sooner than the loss of their patrimony. He understood that at the core of human nature lies a deep, primal territoriality. We are biologically wired to secure resources because, for millions of years, resources meant survival. Today, nothing has changed except the complexity of the game. The jungle has been replaced by the economy, but the predators are still there. They just wear suits and write contracts. If you do not have the weapon of money, you are prey. This is why you must shift your psychological relationship with wealth. Stop desiring money for what it can buy, and start desiring it for what it can prevent. Money is the weapon that kills humiliation. It is the shield that deflects the arrows of misfortune. When you have a war chest, a stockpile of resources that you do not touch, you move through the world differently. You walk with the quiet confidence of a man carrying a loaded gun in a room full of unarmed adversaries. You do not need to use it to feel its power. The knowledge that it is there changes your posture, your eye contact, and your voice. Consider the concept of fortuna that Machiavelli wrote about. He described it as a violent river that floods and destroys everything in its path. He argued that while we cannot control the flood, We can build dikes and dams before the storm arrives. Money is that dam. It is the engineering of safety in an unpredictable world. The person who lives paycheck to paycheck is living on the riverbank without a barrier. They are gambling with their existence, hoping that the rain never falls. But the rain always falls. The crisis always comes. To be unprepared is not a misfortune. It is negligence. When you view money as a weapon, you stop apologizing for wanting it. You stop listening to the weak who try to shame you for your ambition. They call it greed because they do not understand war. They do not understand that in a world of finite resources, you either accumulate enough to dictate your own reality, or you are dictated to. There is no middle ground. The middle ground is a myth invented to keep the masses docile and productive. Machiavelli taught that it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. In the context of your financial life, this means it is better to be respected for your independence than liked for your generosity. A man who gives away his power to be liked ends up despised and empty. A man who hoards his power until he is secure commands respect. The world does not respect the beggar, even if the beggar is a saint. It respects the king, even if the king is ruthless. Why? Because the king has the capacity to inflict consequences. Money gives you that capacity. It gives you the ability to reward your allies and punish your enemies, or simply to ignore them entirely, which is the ultimate punishment. You must understand that your poverty is not a virtue. It is a vulnerability gap in your armor that your enemies will exploit. And do not think you have no enemies. If you have no enemies, it is likely because you have nothing worth taking. The moment you begin to ascend, the moment you begin to accumulate this weapon, you will see the true face of those around you. You will see who is loyal and who is merely attached to your weakness. The most insidious lie ever told is that money cannot buy freedom. In reality, money is the only thing that buys freedom. Without it, your time belongs to another. Your energy belongs to a corporation, a client, or a master who views you as a line item on a spreadsheet, a depreciating asset to be squeezed until dry. When you are financially dependent, you are not a free agent. You are a mercenary fighting someone else's war, often for a cause you do not believe in, against enemies you do not hate. This is the definition of spiritual prostitution. You sell the hours of your life, hours you will never get back, merely to secure the right to exist in a shelter you do not own. Machiavelli advised that a prince must avoid at all costs falling into a state where he is despised. There is nothing more despicable in the eyes of the ruthless world than a man who has no options. When you have no options, your morality becomes theoretical. You may believe you are a man of principle, but if your boss demands you compromise those principles under the threat of starvation, you will bend. You will rationalize. You will submit. The man without money has no capacity for virtue because he has no capacity for refusal. True morality requires the power to say no, and that power is printed on banknotes. Consider the dynamic of negotiation. Most people negotiate from a position of fear. They need the deal. They need the raise. They need the job. The smell of that need is distinct. It is a pheromone of submission that the powerful can detect instantly. When you negotiate from need, you have already lost. You are begging, not bargaining. But consider the man who has built his weapon. He sits at the table with the calm indifference of a predator who has already eaten. He does not need the deal. He does not need the approval. He can stand up, shake hands, and walk away without his pulse quickening by a single beat. That man is terrifying. That man commands the highest price because he signals that he cannot be bought, only rented at a premium. This is the strategic advantage of the Fuck You Fund. It is not just savings. It is a psychological nuclear deterrent. It changes the atmosphere of every room you enter. When you know you can survive for 5 years without working, the petty tyrants of the workplace lose their power over you. Their threats of termination become laughable. Their attempts at intimidation bounce off your armor. You become unmanageable in the best possible way, immune to coercion, guided only by your own reason and interest. You stop being a cog and become a player. However, a warning is necessary. Machiavelli cautioned that the display of power often invites conspiracy. As you sharpen this weapon, you must learn the art of concealment. The greatest mistake of the nouveau riche is the desperate need to display their armor. They buy loud cars, flashy watches, and sprawling estates, painting a target on their backs for the envious and the parasitic. This is tactical suicide. Real power is silent. Real wealth is obscure. The goal is to be heavy with gold, but light on display. You must operate like a submarine, submerged, undetected, carrying a payload that can reshape the landscape, but visible only when you choose to surface. If the world knows exactly what you have, they know exactly what it takes to break you. They know your price. But if your resources are hidden, if your war chest is a mystery, you become an enigma. And as we have established, the human mind fears and respects what it cannot decode. Be the gray man. Look ordinary, but possess extraordinary leverage. Let them underestimate you. Let them think you are one of them, struggling and scraping, while in secret, you are building the empire that will one day buy the land they stand on. This accumulation requires a cold, hard discipline that most lack. You must reject the consumerist programming that equates spending with living. Every time you buy a liability, you are handing your sword to your enemy. You are trading future freedom for present dopamine. It is a bad trade. The warrior of finance understands that the greatest luxury is not a brand name, it is autonomy. It is the ability to wake up in the morning and ask, "What do I wish to do?" rather than, "What must I do to survive?" The world will try to seduce you into weakness. It will offer you credit, easy payments, and social validation for being a good consumer. Recognize these for what they are: traps. Debt is the modern form of indentured servitude. It is a chain you forge for yourself, link by link, with every swipe of the card. A man in debt has sold his future to pay for his past. He is a time traveler, stuck in a loop of obligation. Machiavelli would look at the modern debtor with pity and disgust, seeing a prince who has voluntarily handed the keys of his city to a besieging army. To wield money as a weapon, you must first liberate yourself from the fear of losing it, and the only way to do that is to have enough of it that the loss of a skirmish does not lose the war. You stop playing to not lose, and you start playing to win. The shift is subtle but total. The defensive player guards his pieces. The offensive player sacrifices them to gain position. But you cannot sacrifice what you do not have. You cannot speculate. You cannot invest. You cannot take the calculated risks that lead to exponential growth if you are terrified that a single mistake will leave you homeless. Money buys you the right to make mistakes. It buys you the recovery time. It buys you the second, third, and fourth chance that the poor are never given. The world is forgiving to the rich and ruthless to the poor. This is not a judgment of good and evil. It is a mechanical reality of the system. Gravity pulls harder on those at the bottom. To escape that gravity, you need fuel. Money is that fuel. Without it, You never reach escape velocity. You simply fall back down, crushed by the weight of your own existence. There is a brutality to this truth that makes the weak uncomfortable. They will call you cynical. They will say you are obsessed. Let them. Their opinions are the rustling of leaves. Your reality is the stone that endures. While they discuss the morality of poverty, you will be building the capacity for sovereignty. Machiavelli knew that in the silence of the night, when the crowds have dispersed and the applause has faded, a man is left only with what he can control. If you control nothing, you are nothing. But money as a weapon is not just for defense, it is for aggression. Not the aggression of violence, but the aggression of intent. It allows you to impose your will upon the chaos of the universe. When you have capital, you can shape your environment. You can move away from noise and danger. You can purchase silence. You can buy the best education, the best legal counsel, the best medical care. You are literally buying a higher probability of survival and success for your bloodline. To refuse to do this, to choose mediocrity out of laziness or fear, is a betrayal of your potential and a dereliction of duty to those who depend on you. Consider the concept of virtue in Machiavelli's philosophy. Not virtue in the Christian sense of goodness, but in the Roman sense of effectiveness, strength, and prowess. The man of virtue imposes his form on the world. Today, capital is the primary instrument of virtue. It is the lever long enough to move the earth. If you have a vision, a dream, or a desire to change something in this world, and you do not have the money to fund it, you are merely a dreamer. You are a ghost shouting in a hurricane. But back that vision with resources, and suddenly you are a force of nature. Your ideas take physical form. Your will becomes concrete. This is why the pursuit of wealth is a spiritual discipline for the Machiavellian. It requires the suppression of impulse, the mastery of patience, and the cultivation of foresight. You must become a long-term strategist in a short-term world. While others are distracted by the circus of entertainment, you are studying the mechanics of value. While others are sleeping, you are sharpening your blade. This is not about greed. It is about self-actualization. You cannot fully be who you are if you are constantly shrinking to fit a space defined by your lack of funds. The world respects the man who can walk away. I repeat this because it is the fundamental axiom of power. The ability to walk away from a bad deal, a bad relationship, a bad job, or a bad situation is the ultimate superpower. But you cannot walk away if you have nowhere to go and nothing to eat. Money provides the destination and the provisions. It turns the terrifying void of the unknown into a manageable risk. It turns "I have to stay" into "I choose to leave." When you begin to view money this way, you stop spending it on trivialities. You realize that buying a depreciating asset is like disarming yourself in the middle of a battle. Why would you trade a battalion of soldiers, your dollars, for a piece of plastic that will be worthless in a year? You start to hoard your ammunition. You invest it where it breeds. You send your money out to capture more money. You become a conqueror of value. This is the mindset of the empire builder. He does not consume his harvest. He plants it. Machiavelli warned that men rise from one ambition to another. First, they seek to secure themselves against attack, and then they attack others. This is the natural progression. First, you use money to build your fortress, your emergency fund, your paid-off debts, your insurance. You secure your perimeter. Once that is impenetrable, you look outward. You use your weapon to acquire assets, to buy equity, to purchase the labor of others. You move from the defensive to the offensive. You stop working for money and make money work for you. This is the transition from subject to prince. But remember the trap of the ego. As your weapon grows, the temptation to use it carelessly increases. You will want to show off. You will want to prove to those who doubted you that you have won. Resist this. It is the vanity of the fool. The true master of power enjoys the secret knowledge of his strength. He does not need the applause of the audience. He knows that the moment he reveals the full extent of his power, he invites challengers. Keep your weapon sheathed, but keep your hand on the hilt. Let them wonder. Let them guess. The uncertainty you generate is as powerful as the gold itself. In this game, there are no referees, only consequences. The market does not care about your feelings. It does not care about your excuses. It rewards competence, and it punishes ignorance. If you are ignorant of the laws of money, you will be punished, regardless of how good a person you are. Ignorance is not a defense. It is a death sentence. Therefore, you must study money with the same intensity that a general studies terrain. You must understand interest, leverage, equity, tax, and risk. These are the coordinates of the battlefield. If you cannot read the map, you will die in the trenches. Ultimately, the accumulation of this weapon allows you to purchase the only commodity that truly matters: time. The poor sell their time to buy survival. The middle class sells their time to buy comfort. The powerful use their money to buy back their time. This is the hierarchy of existence. When you have reclaimed your time, you have reclaimed your life. You are no longer a renewable resource for the industrial machine. You are a sovereign entity. You can sit in a room and do nothing, and that stillness is not laziness. It is the luxury of a god. To wake up and know that your day belongs to you, that is the victory Machiavelli sought. It is the ability to act or not act according to your own reason, not the necessity of another. Do not mistake this philosophy for a call to greed. Greed is a hole that can never be filled. It is a weakness. This is a call to sufficiency and dominion. There is a number, a specific amount of armor, that renders you immune to the petty insults of the world. Find that number, reach it, and then everything else is just a game. You stop working because you must, and you start creating because you can. You move from the realm of necessity to the realm of possibility. This is the alchemy of power. You transmute the base metal of labor into the gold of freedom. But you must be willing to be misunderstood. The world will not applaud your withdrawal from their consumerist cult. They will call you cheap when you do not spend. They will call you aloof when you do not engage in their rat race. They will call you arrogant when you do not need their validation. Accept these labels as badges of honor. They are the confused noises of the sheep watching the wolf walk away from the herd. The sheep needs the flock. The wolf needs only his strength and his wits. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Let your public face be one of polite ambiguity. Play the game when you must. Smile, nod, shake hands, but internally remain detached. Know that your true security lies not in their opinion of you, but in the bank account they cannot see. This secret knowledge creates a barrier between you and them. It protects your soul from the corrosion of conformity. You are in the world, but not of it. You are a spy in the house of the desperate, observing their panic with the calm of a man who has already secured his exit. If you fail to arm yourself, do not blame the system. The system is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Extract value from the many to concentrate it in the hands of the few. It is a machine. You cannot argue with a machine. You can only learn how to operate it or how to dismantle it. By refusing to master money, you are volunteering to be fuel. You are choosing to be the victim in a story where you could have been the protagonist. History is written by the victors, and in the modern age, the victors are those who capitalized. So, look at your bank account today. Do not look at it with shame or guilt. Look at it with cold, analytical detachment. That number is your health bar. It is your ammunition count. It is the measure of your distance from the abyss. If it is low, do not despair. Despair is for the weak. Instead, get angry. Let a cold, hard rage wake you up. Realize that you have been walking through a war zone without a helmet. Vow to change it. Not tomorrow, not next year, but now. Cut the fat from your life. Starve the distractions. Feed the war chest. Every dollar you save is a mercenary you have hired to fight for your freedom. Every investment you make is a fortress you have built against the chaos. You are not saving for a rainy day. You are arming yourself for the storm that never ends. The world is hard. It is indifferent to your suffering. It will crush you without a second thought if you are soft. So do not be soft. Be expensive. Be fortified. Be dangerous. Machiavelli would tell you that the greatest sin is not evil, but helplessness. To be helpless is to be immoral, because you cannot protect yourself or anything you value. Money removes helplessness. It grants you the agency to be a force for whatever you choose, good, bad, or indifferent. But first, you must have the power. End your dependence. Build your arsenal. Silence your ego. Walk through the fire of discipline until you come out the other side, forged in gold and steel. The world belongs to the armed. Money is your weapon. Pick it up, load it, and never, ever put it down.